So in the warm-up, we just took a look at an equation of a line. And what was that? Y equals mx plus b? That was called?
Slope-intercept.
Slope-intercept. Okay, that's slope-intercept form. Okay. I'm going to show you a new form. Okay, and I want you to put it in the box at the top of the page. Okay. And this form is called point-slope form. Okay, a little bit different than slope-intercept. With slope-intercept, you use a slope and you use an intercept. What do you think you're going to use with point-slope form? Yep. Yeah, you're going to be given a point and a slope. Okay. So I'll come right back to that. But you're going to have a problem that would look like that. There's a point, there's a slope. This is a perfect problem to use what I'm showing you right now. Okay, so M, we already know what M is. Right? M stands for the slope. It stood for the slope in y equals mx plus b. It still stands for the slope here. Did anybody see any other letters in this formula that we had in the other formula?
X.
Yeah, we had, let me see if I can highlight the letters that were the same. So we had X, we had M. What else did we have? Y. So what's in this formula that we didn't have in the other one? The Y1 and the X1. That's your point. Okay, the other formula didn't use a point. Okay? So the X1 and the Y1, that is your coordinate. Okay, so make sure you, on your diagram, just draw an arrow and label Y1 and X1 as the coordinate they give you. Okay, and when they give you a coordinate, somebody raise your hand and tell me what letter comes first in the coordinate. Jordy, what letter comes first in a coordinate?
X.
Yeah? And what letter comes second in the coordinate? Y. Okay. Now, does it make a difference? Can you switch the order, or do you have to put the X first and the Y second? What do you think, Trent? Does it make a difference which value comes first? Yes, it does. Okay, remember when you're graphing a coordinate, if it didn't make a difference, then that means this would be the same as that. Okay? 1, 3, and 3, 1, then you can't switch the order. You have to put the X first and then the Y. Okay? Okay, everybody have that formula. Okay, so in yellow, all I did was highlight the things that were the same in this formula and the last formula. You don't need to highlight anything in yellow. Okay. I'll show you on the next page, but what we're going to plug in for, we're going to plug in a number here. We're going to plug in a number there. And we're going to plug in a number there. What two letters didn't I plug anything in for? The Y and the X. And that's exactly what we do in this formula. We plug in a number here, plug in a number here. We don't plug in anything for the Y and the X. So that part is kind of similar. Okay? All right. So let's see if I can do this. So the first example, what I'll do is I'm kind of going to go through it with you step by step. Okay, well, I'm going to show you the process as we do the example. Okay, so they want us to write an equation in point-slope form. Okay, so point-slope. So point-slope is not y equals mx plus b. That's slope-intercept. Okay, this is point slope. Okay, so they tell us a point. Okay, if they're going to make us do point slope, they got to give us a point, and they also got to give me the slope, and they do. So those two things are the important things, the point and the slope. There's three things we have to fill in for: y1, m, and x1. All right, so on your sheet, we're going to go through each of these letters and what you plug in or what you don't plug in. Do you leave it or do you plug something in? Okay, the y. The y stays the same. Okay, so in this formula, you are not changing the y. Just leave the y alone. All right, so the next thing is y1. Now, on the other page, I circled y1. Okay, I circled it, meaning you have to plug something in for it. Where do you think you're going to get the thing to plug in for y1 in your problem? Anyone see where? Anyone have a guess looking up at what I highlighted? What number might be y1?
8.
Why'd you say 8?
Oh, no, 3.
Okay, why'd you say 3?
Because it's in, like, it's x, comma, y.
Yeah, that's a coordinate. That's an x value. And that's a y value. So for y1, what you're going to do is look at the number that comes after the comma. Right? Look at the number that comes after. Right there. That gets plugged in for the y1 in the formula you just put in that box. So look at the number after the comma. That's what gets plugged in for the y1. Don't worry about what's before the comma. We're going to use that, but we're not going to use it yet. All right, now the next thing is the m. Where do you think I'm going to get the m from? Because I circled that on the other page. So if I circled it, that means you've got to plug in a number for it.
It'll be the slope.
Yeah. Plug in the slope. Okay, m is the slope. Now, the only thing that can be a little tricky about this is if they don't give you the slope. Okay, you have to find it. And does anybody remember what that formula was to find the slope? It was something over something. Rise over run. Okay, we have to go back and use that formula and do this ourselves. Okay, but I'm going to give you the slope in the first couple. All right, if I go back to the other page, is x something I circled? No, I didn't circle the x, so that means leave it alone. The x stays as x. Just like the y, you are not plugging anything in for x. Okay, and the last one on your sheet, while you're writing that down, make the last one an x1. On your notes, does the last one say y1 again?
Yeah.
No, it should say x1. Let's make the last one an x1. Okay, so x just stays as x. We're not plugging anything in. Now, x1, if I go back to the other page, x1 is something I circled. So, I have to plug something in. Where am I going to get the number to plug in for x1 from? Yeah, Aiden?
It's going to be from the coordinates.
Yeah, it's going to be from the coordinate. It's the number right there. It's the number before the comma in the coordinate. Okay, so these steps really tell you exactly, step by step, what to do, what to plug in, and where it goes. Did everybody change that last one to an x1 instead of y1? Okay, make sure that's an x1. Okay, so two of the things that you plug in, this one and this one, you have to look at the coordinate. Okay, the third thing you have to plug in, you have to look at the slope. Okay, any questions on that? All right, so let's, right here, right below this, let's put our answer, but let's go through each step. Okay, first thing is y. Do I plug anything in for y? No. Nope. So I got y, and it's not y equals mx plus b. What comes after the y in point slope form? Right directly after the y. Yep. Yep, a subtraction sign. And you are subtracting what comes right after the formula. Yep. Right after the minus sign is y1. Okay, so now let's look at y1. Let me see if I can keep both of these up at the same time. Y1, it says we do have to plug in something. Who can tell me what I'm going to have to plug in for y1 here? Yeah, Hannah? Yeah, we're going to plug in 3. Okay. Okay. What comes after the y1? Directly after it. Equals. Okay. What letter comes after the equal sign? M. So now we look at our chart. Find M. The directions for M. Plug in the slope. Okay. Plug in the slope. So Maggie, what did they give me for a slope in this problem? What did they give me for a slope in this problem? And what number did they give me? 1 over?
4.
Yeah, the slope of 1 over 4. Everybody, is that already printed on your notes? Yeah, okay, that's already there. Okay, after the M, what am I supposed to put, Jordy? What comes right after the M in the formula?
X.
Nope, something between the M and the X. Parenthesis. That's important. Okay, make sure you put that parenthesis. Now we put the X. Okay, let's look at our directions. Do I plug in anything for X?
No.
Nope. That stays the same. Derek, what comes after the X? Right directly after the X. Nope, not a comma. Minus. Yep. And then, Emma, what about after the minus? What letter? The X1. Okay, so we look at our directions. The directions say you have to plug in something for X1. So in this case, X1 is 8. We're not done yet. One more thing. Parenthesis. And that is our answer. Okay, that's the equation of the line in point slope form. Okay. Does that look like anything we did in the warm-up? We had this y minus 3 equals a number, and then we had parentheses. So remember in the warm-up? Make it a little bigger. We had this problem. Y minus 2 equals a number, and then parentheses next to it. I told you earlier that this was going to be point slope form. And you guys already did the next step, which is changing this to slope-intercept by using the distributive property and then adding 2. Okay. In this problem, I'm going to leave that as my final answer. Okay. I'm not going to do the next step, which would be part 2. Okay, so on your notes, you have a spot for part 2. We're not doing part 2 in this problem. We're going to do part 2 probably either in the next problem or the one after that. Okay, I'm going to let you write part 2 now, but for this problem, we're done. That's the answer to example 1. Any questions on this? That's it. That's all you have to do. All right, so what if they ask us to do the next step? Okay. The next step is to do this. Take the answer that you have and change it so y is by itself. Okay. What 2 steps did we do here? Let's start on the right-hand side. What did we do with this 3? Oh, Kyle, what did we do with the 3? Now we distribute it. Okay, so that's one thing we had to do. That got us to here. And then what did we do to get to the last step? Yeah? Yeah, we had to add the number that was next to y. Okay, so those are the last 2 steps we're going to write under part 2. All right, so first of all, point slope form. Okay, you have to already have this. Okay, that's the first thing. And you know what? We can do this in this example. The directions didn't say to do it. They said to stop with point slope. But just to show you how to do it, I'll use the example we just had. All right, so we had y minus 3 equals 1/4 times x minus 8. Again, directions did not ask us to do this, but I need a problem to show you how to do it, so I'll just use the last one we had. Okay, when I distribute, is that going to change anything on the left? What do you think, Emily? When I distribute this 1/4, does it change anything over here?
No.
No, that equal sign separates it. So all that's going to change is the numbers on the right. Shannon, what's 1/4 times x?
1/4.
Yeah, 1/4 x. And now after the 1/4 x, is it a plus or a minus? It's a minus. Look up above. Okay, we had a minus. Now we have to do 1/4 times 8. Does anybody know what 1/4 times 8 is? So if it was 4, that would be 1/2 times 8. 1/2 times 8 would be 4. Let's check our calculator. Yeah, that's 1/4. I just typed in 1 divided by 4 on my calculator. Times 8, we get 2. Okay? So now, if I stopped here, is that y equals mx plus b form? No. The last thing I need to do is either add or subtract. You have to do the opposite operation of what I just circled. So add or subtract the number that's over with y to the other side. So y minus 3 equals 1/4 x minus 2. So now in this problem, well, Sabrina, to get y by itself, would I have to add or subtract? Yeah, I'm going to have to add, and I'm going to add. And Natalie, what would I have to add on both sides? Yeah, I'm going to add 3. I'm going to add 3. That's gone. Right, so Kaylee, what's on the left-hand side now? Just y. And Marissa, what's going to come right after the equal sign? 1/4 x. But now I need to do this arithmetic. Kyle, what's negative 2 plus 3? Positive 1. Perfect. Is that y equals mx plus b? Yep. So what's in this box? And what's in this box are exactly the same thing. What's the name of the top one called? What form is that? Okay. That's point slope. And what's the bottom one called? Slope-intercept. Okay, so you can write the equation of a line two ways. Both of them are correct. They'll tell you in the problem which way they want you to do it. Okay? In our last problem, you did not have to do this step 2. They did not ask for it. But in the next problem, or the one after that, I am going to ask for it. So I'm showing you now. Okay, so if you understand that, that's basically, we're just going to practice a few more of those. That's all we're really doing today. Okay, and again, Mr. Roy and I will try to make it so the numbers work out nice, so the numbers aren't like really awful fractions. So like in this problem, 1/4 times 8, it came out to a nice number, too. Okay, we'll try to make that happen. Okay, any questions on that? All right, so let's we'll try one more together, okay, where they give you the slope. And notice I said stop at point slope form. You don't have to do slope-intercept. So you don't have to do that second part where you distribute. In the next problem, I'm asking for slope-intercept. That one, you're going to have to do the whole thing we just did. Okay? Not this one. All right, let's just start by writing the formula. Can somebody remind me, what is the formula for point slope form? Kaden?
Y minus y1 equals
parentheses.
minus x1.
There we go. Now let's circle the things that we're going to change to numbers. Can somebody tell me one thing here we're going to change to a number? Kyle? We're going to change that. What else? Antonio? M. And one more thing. Yeah. X1. Okay. One thing you want to be careful of is this minus is always here, and this other minus is always here. So let's say you were, let's say x1 was a negative number. You would end up with 2 minuses. You get a minus from the formula, and then you might have a minus from the number itself, what goes in the green circle. That's not going to happen here. That's a positive 4, and that's a 0. But what would happen if you ended up with 2 minuses in a row? Yeah, like let's say x1 was negative 4. It would turn into a positive. Okay, so that can happen. Maybe we should practice that. Let's practice that just in case. 'Cause I think there is one on the test like that. Just make this 4. Make it a negative 4. Okay. So just change 4 to -4. All right, so off to the side, I'm going to make a list of exactly what I'm going to plug in.
We have
Yeah, we got three.
three and -4.
You have a different one.
We have one.
All right, let's do your example. You said this is 3 and a -1, and what's your slope?
Actually,
-2. All right, so I had a different example. All right, yeah, just a second. Okay, so let's just make a list here. Using your example, go by what's on your sheet. I changed my numbers to match your sheet. What's x1?
no.
3. How about y1? -1. And how about m? -2. So now fill in these 3 numbers in the 3 spots, and you're done. That's all you have to do. So what are we filling in for y1? -1. Okay, I'll come back to that in a second. We can fix this, but it's y minus -1 equals. Okay, Ashley, what am I plugging in for m? -2, parentheses. Trenton, do I change the x? Nope. Do I change the minus? Nope. Now fill in x1, 3. Now this is almost good, but there's one thing we have to do because of what I was just explaining. What's y minus -1? Plus, how much? Plus 1. So we're going to make it y plus 1, and then copy the rest, and that's the final answer. Do we have to get y by itself here?
Yes.
What form did it say to leave it in? Point slope. Is point slope the one that's y is by itself? No. The one that y is by itself, what's that one called? Slope-intercept. So this is fine. It did not say to get y by itself. Okay? That is point slope. That's it. Okay. Any questions on what we did there? All right. Now, you guys remember when we did graphing? We graphed lines? If I was going to graph a line, I don't like it in point slope. I think point slope is harder. Okay? If I really want to graph something, then I want it in slope-intercept. Okay? I think slope-intercept is a lot easier for graphing a line. All right. Now, this time, what did they give me in this picture? Look at the picture, and what are they giving me? Okay, they give me a line. What else?
2 points.
They give me 2 points. So in this type of problem, you are given 2 points on the line. Did they give me the slope? Did they say in this problem, slope equals 3? No, they didn't give me the slope.
Find it.
You have to find it. You have to find the slope first. Okay, so remember that step where I wrote in the notes, plug in m, and I said you might have to find m? This is a problem where you have to find m. Okay. What are the 2 coordinates they gave me? Okay, they gave me the coordinate 1, 2, and what else? 3, -2. And the reason I'm writing these separate is because I want you to get used to not having a picture there. Okay? You don't need anything that picture was showing, except what I wrote to the side of it. These are the two coordinates they gave me. Okay? So, and plus I think it's already printed on your notes as well. Okay? A lot of times when they give you 2 points, they're not going to give you a picture. You don't need a picture. All you need is the 2 points. And that's what I just put right there. Okay? So I'm going to get rid of the picture in my problem. And it'll give me more space to do my work. Okay? Okay, so on your notes, there's a spot that says find the slope first. Okay, hopefully you wrote that in under the underline. And then next to it, it says using. Does anybody remember the formula to find the slope? Something minus something in the top, something minus something in the bottom, and it uses these 4 things. Yep. Aiden?
It's y2 minus y1
Yep.
over x2 minus x1.
Perfect. It's on that line that says using, you already have the fraction bar. Okay. Fill in this formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The x1, the y1, the x2, and the y2 are these 4 numbers. We just have to figure out which one is which. All right, so let's do that in our problem before we go to the next part, okay, where you have some space up above to show work. Let's find the slope first using this formula. Okay, the points I circled. Can somebody tell me which one is x1? Yeah,
1.
sure. This could be x1. So which one is x2? 3. Okay, so far I like it. Which one is y1? Yep. The y1 has to go with the x1. And which one is y2? So now let's fill in our formula. I always start with this. You're always going to have a fraction, subtraction in the top, subtraction in the bottom. What's the first number? Negative. That's y2 minus what comes next? y2 minus, I think someone just said it, 2. y1, yep. What about x2? 3 minus, what's x1? 1. Okay, what's negative 2 take away 2? People had said 0, that would be negative 2 plus 2. This is negative 4. And what about 3 take away 1? 2. And now if you can, always reduce your fraction as much as you can. Can we take negative 4 and divide by 2? Yeah, what would you get? Careful, positive or negative? Yeah, because that's a negative. So it's negative. You could put 2 over 1, or could I also just put negative 2? Is that the same as negative 2 over 1? Yeah. There's your slope. Okay, so now we know the slope. Now, the other thing we needed was a point. Was I given a point in this problem? If we're going to write point slope, right? That's what we're trying to do, write an equation and point slope. Here's your slope. Did we have a point? do you think? Well, how did we calculate the slope? What did we use? Like, what are these numbers? Where did they come from? Coordinates. Is a coordinate a point? Yeah. So in this problem, not only did they give us 1 point to pick from, we have 2. Okay? We have 2 points to pick from to use as the number that's going to go here and here. Do you think it matters which coordinate you use? No. Are these both on the line? Like if you look at the, if I bring the picture back, I don't know if I can. Were both those coordinates on that line originally? Yeah, they were both on the line, so you can use either one of them. Okay, so on your notes, where it says next, pick one of the coordinates you were given. It doesn't matter which one. Pick the one that has easier numbers. Pick one of the coordinates you were given, and we're going to use it in the point slope formula. It does not matter which one you pick. I try to pick points that have small numbers, easy numbers. And then, after you pick a point, we already have the slope. That's what we just calculated. Follow all the same steps that we've done. Okay, so really, after you find the slope, all the steps are the same. That's the only extra step. Find the slope. Okay, so it's 3 things we need. The slope, x1, and y1. Can somebody remind me, what did we calculate for the slope? Was it 2? Oh, negative 2. Okay, so there's my negative 2. Now, I need to scroll back up so we can look at the coordinates. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back down in a second. Okay, I need to pick an x value and a y value. Which coordinate do you think is easier to use? The first one or the second one? Let's use the first one just because the numbers are positive. You have to pick both numbers from the same coordinate. Either you can pick the top 2 or the bottom 2. So let's pick the top one. Forget about the bottom one. We're not going to use it. What is x1? 1. What's y1? 2. Okay, and then we're going to write our answer. And I think this one I'm going to leave in... Actually, you know what? We'll do this one all the way. We'll write it in slope-intercept form. Yeah. Okay. So, what do I start with? What letter comes first? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus 1. Okay. What form is that again? Yeah, this is point slope. Now I want to change to slope-intercept. So what's the first thing I have to do on the right-hand side? Distribute. Does that affect the left? No. What's negative 2 times x? What's negative 2 times negative 1?
1, so 2.
Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Is that y equals mx plus b?
No.
No, it's close. What's the last thing I have to do?
Subtract 2 for everything.
Make that 2, yep, we're going to add it and add it. Negative 2 plus 2, gone. What's on the right-hand side now?
2x plus 4.
Perfect. Now, you're not always going to have to go this far, but in this problem, they did say do it in slope-intercept, which means get y by itself. If they said leave it in point slope, you could have stopped at this step and been done. Okay, some problems will say stop here. Some problems will say stop here. You just have to read the directions. It's really not that much work to go one extra step anyway, but it's good to practice. Okay, that's the only one today that I'm going to go all the way to the last step. Okay, I think we only have one left, and we're going to leave it in point slope form. And then if we have time, we'll look at the word problem. Okay, does everybody have that? All right, so the second to last problem is basically exactly like this, except they're asking you the question in a different way, but you don't do anything different at all. It says, write a linear function, and I'm going to do it in point slope. That's the one where you can stop. You don't have to go all the way to get y by itself. Now they gave me this, and they gave me that. Those two things I just underlined are really like what? They're really coordinates. They're kind of disguised a little bit, right? They don't look like coordinates. Okay, but remember, okay, and you have a spot under example 4 where it says recall. If they give you something like this, okay, this number right here, whatever they fill in there, that's the x value. Whatever they put here, that's the y value. And if we can do that, then everything else in the problem stays the same. Let's write this as a coordinate. What is the 4? Is that an x value or a y value? Where's the x value? It's the one that's right next to what letter? Yeah, it's the number that's right inside next to the f. That's the x. So what's the 4 here? Is that x or y? That's the x. The number that's by itself is what? It's the y. Basically, just read it in the order it's written. X and y. Just take out the f, take out the equal sign, take out the parentheses. Put a comma between the two numbers. 4, negative 2. Okay. How about this one? How would you write this as a coordinate? Yeah, 8, comma 4. Just take out everything else and just leave the two numbers and put a comma between them. And that's it. Okay, so now this problem is just like the last one. You have two coordinates. Let's label this. What's the 8? Is that x1 or y1 or x2 or y2?
It's the x1.
Yeah, it could be x1 or it could be either one. Let's switch it up this time. Let's make that x2. So what does that mean the 4 is going to be? That's x1. How about the other 4?
Y2.
That's y2. And how about the negative 2? Y1. Okay, so my slope. What goes on top? What minus what? y, what value? y2. Take away y1. Okay. And on the bottom, we have x2.
8.
Yep. Take away x1,
1.
which is 4. Now, be careful. What's 4 minus minus 2?
4 minus 2. Possible.
6.
All right.
Remember, 4 minus a minus turns into a plus. How about 8 take away 4?
4.
And what does that reduce to? So what number goes into both? 2. What's half of 6?
3.
And then half of 4.
2.
There's my slope. Okay, so m is 3/2. Now, to write my final answer, I need an x1 and I need a y1. Does it matter which coordinate I use?
Yes. No.
No. Use this one? Or use this one? I said try to use numbers that are what? Yeah, stick with numbers that are positive. Okay? So that's going to become my 8. And that's going to be my 4. Okay? And you might look back and say, well, wait, that's not what we did before, but it doesn't matter. Just pick one of the x's, pick one of the y's from the same coordinate. And now, what's my final answer? Y
Equal. Y minus.
minus.
Y. No. Oh, y minus 4.
Yep,
Then minus equals.
equals
3 over 2.
3 over 2,
Parentheses.
parentheses,
8 minus. No, x minus 8.
x minus 8. It's a lot of stuff to keep in the right order, but that's the answer. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, and the last one, I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you. I just want to explain one thing.
No.
One thing we did earlier in the year, and it was basically if you were given a table, whether or not you could use a line to model this data. Okay? In order to determine if it's possible to use a line, there has to be a pattern here, and there has to be a pattern here. If it's not the same pattern, you can't use a line. How do you get from 2 to 6? Is that the same all the way? Yeah. Okay, that's the same pattern. Now, how about the y's? How do you get from 34 to 46? Is that the same all the way? Yes. Because the pattern is addition, you can use a line. Okay? How would you do it from here? That's one coordinate. That's a second coordinate. Just take these numbers and do exactly what we did in the last problem. I know the numbers are a little bigger, but you could pick any two that you want and do what we did in example 4. Okay? But that's the only thing that you might have not remembered. In order to use a line, you have to add the same number each time. If you don't have a pattern, you can't use a line. Okay? For this lesson, I'm always going to give you ones with a pattern. Okay? Okay, so homework tonight will be section 4.2. What day is our test? Thursday. What are we doing on Friday? Review for the what? Midterm. Very good.